All right, so today I'm going to talk about tiger parenting with focus on cultural essentialism and mainly critics of cultural essentialism. And my geographical focus this time will be Hong Kong, where I'm based for more than 12 years. My talk is based on the paper, which was published in ECNU Review of Education 2 years ago. So if you're interested in the paper and willing to read the paper, here is more information and QR code. And then the paper itself and this topic was part of a larger research project looking at social class, parent social class, and its impact on extracurricular activities and academic tutoring in Hong Kong. So today I'm going to just follow some conventional structure of the presentation. So I will give an overview of the topic, methodology, share some findings, and then have conclusions in the end. Perhaps many of you know Amy Chua's famous book, Battle Hymn of Tiger Mother, which became very popular since 2011. Amy Chua is a law professor at Yale University. She herself is Chinese American. And this book spurred discussion about Asian parenting and tiger parenting. Tiger parenting became a concept explored widely in the field of education, psychology, developmental studies, parenting. Tiger parenting, colloquially used to refer to intensive parenting, but in popular media, it also became quite popular. As you see on the slides, several TV series were made based on this phenomenon. So Amy Chua popularized the term, but in Western literature, actually, this term, tiger parenting, existed before Amy Chua. In at least from 19th century, tiger parent was a parent, a mother who was protecting her children in the context of war. Tiger mother was sort of a feminist construct to describe how motherhood and caring for children contributes to female leadership and activism. So this is very different connotation of tiger parenting term from what Amy Chua used in her book. So if you look at the symbol of tiger, so in China, it's popular, but not as popular and iconic as, for example, dragon. So tiger is one of the 12 Chinese zodiac animals, as you know, and it does have some cultural resonance across China, across East and Southeast Asia. It's symbolically used to characterize someone who has willpower, courage, confidence, and personal strength. But again, it is not as a strong symbol as, for example, dragon in Chinese philosophy. So lots of scholars criticize Amy Chua's book on the grounds of culturalist explanation of parenting. So they blamed Chua that her book promoted culture clash framework. Chua's book emphasized that Chinese parenting is very different and it's superior to its Western counterpart. It especially resonated with the decline of the West and rise of China narrative after 2009 Great Recession. It also contributed to ethnicization of the argument, right, or negative stereotyping of Chinese parenting as aggressive. However, cultural essentialist arguments regarding tiger parenting have been criticized both from factual and analytical terms. I think we need to use. For example, Zhang observed that modus operandi of Chinese tiger parents is actually anti-ethical to core tenets of Confucianism, role of moral education and harmonious relationship in the family. Tiger parents prioritize success over family values, which Zhang argues that it's against of sort of philosophy of Chinese parenting. In the context of Australia, Ho argued that tiger parenting is not the most common parenting profile among Chinese Americans. So when scholars were looking for alternative explanations, they provided some other arguments regarding tiger parenting, and some stressed the importance and significance of social class. As you know, intensive parenting has been sociologically associated with middle class as a strategy to transmit generational advantage. Beyond class, some scholars were talking about hyper-competitive parenting being actually popular in industrialized countries, not only in Asia, but across the world. Some others were looking at individual level factors explaining tiger parenting. So there are still gaps remaining in the literature, although scholars have made great strides in advancing this term and phenomenon. Research remains limited to provide non-culturalist understanding and explanations of tiger parenting. We don't know much about how parents themselves conceptualize the notion of tiger parenting, and what other educational, societal, and contextual factors contribute to engagement in tiger parenting. And there is no sort of one agreed definition what is tiger parenting. So there is a lack of accepted definition. And the definition that and the idea that Amy Chua used is based on a very loose concept which she constructed. Tiger parenting in most of the literature is when somebody is controlling, harsh, highly authoritarian parent, and usually it is considered as unhealthy way of parenting. So in this paper, we refer to tiger parenting as a mindset or an approach to parenting that displays most of these characteristics. So tiger parent, according to our understanding, is someone who carefully plans children's lives, invest extensive resources in both academic and extracurriculum activities, has high expectations, often ignores child agency. So in this paper, we looked at both academic tutoring and extracurriculum activities to unpack what tiger parenting is. So we tried to look at different factors, social, cultural, economic, educational factors. We use frames that we think are often neglected or understudied in literature. So we asked whether parents regarding themselves as tiger parents, we asked for reasons for choosing or not choosing to be tiger parents. And we also looked at demand for private tutoring and extracurricular activities. A little bit about methodology. So this study was conducted in 2021 in Hong Kong. So this is the pandemic year. Although the study was set up before pandemic, we had to adjust our sort of methodology and to move everything online. So as you see, most of our interviews were done by Zoom, phone, and some by WeChat. So overall, we used qualitative interview study methodology with maximum variation sampling technique to include parents from different backgrounds and from different schools, identities, and so to also reflect multi-cultural nature of our city. So again, coming from multicultural aspect of Hong Kong, we actually offered parents interviews in different languages. So as you see from the slides, we had 40 interviews in Cantonese, some in English, some in Mandarin, Japanese. So this was thanks to my team's language skills. So I had a team of about 10 researchers and my master PhD students and postdoctoral researchers and they had linguistic capacity to actually interview parents in multiple languages. So average interview lasted about 14 minutes. So participants were 80 parents from local and international schools. We audio recorded data, transcribed, translated, and coded in NVivo 12. And we also used live blogging during our interviews, right after the interviews. And we also did analytical memoing throughout the data collection and analysis process. Besides qualitative interviews, we also had a background survey as an identifier of parental social class, because social class was something that we were really interested in. So we actually distributed a background survey to our respondents ahead of time to collect some demographic information, which then helped us to categorize parents across social class spectrum. So we categorized parents into 4 different social classes: working class, low middle class, and upper middle class. So instead of just having working class and middle class, we wanted to show some diversity within middle class. So, and you see on the slide percentage of each social class that we had for this study. So when decided on whether or not include parents in the social class, we looked at family income. We looked at family income, level of education, and occupation. We also borrowed some variables from Hong Kong Census and Statistics Department. And overall, this our attempt to contextualize social class in Hong Kong was inspired by Social Class in 21st Century book by Sebiage and colleagues, also called BBC Social Class Study. So overall, we had multiple parents from multiple ethnicities. We had parents, local Chinese, mainland Chinese, Chinese from elsewhere, for example, from Singapore. We also had parents from Anglophone countries, for example, UK or the US, East Asian, for example, Japanese, South Asian, for example, Indian, Pakistanis, and Europeans, for example, Dutch or Swedish parents. So you see the diversity of parents in our sample, which actually represents Hong Kong. In terms of gender, a majority were female, and we had some male participants as well. In terms of schools, we have 4 different types of schools in Hong Kong: international school sector, and 3 different types of local schools: government schools, aided schools, and DSS schools. So we included parents from all these schools. Now let me move to the findings and share some of our major findings, and more again can be read in the paper that I shared. So overall, when we asked parents what is tiger parenting, we found that most of the parents had no negative attitude towards this term. They were saying, oh no, I'm not the tiger parent, although I know this exists, somebody's tiger parent, not me. So we found that great majority of parents in our sample were familiar with the term. Nobody said what is tiger parenting, and their understanding of tiger parenting was very close to Amy Chua's book. But given its negative connotation, most of the parents try to distance themselves from the term. So again, I'm not a tiger parent. And we tried different interviewing techniques. We tried to desensitize issues, depersonalize questions to let them talk about tiger parenting. And mostly negative connotation, but some parents actually mentioned some positive aspects of tiger parenting. For example, somebody says that tiger parent is an expression of love. tiger parents set strict timeline for children because they want to finish homework earlier to have free time for play and rest. But these were sort of outliers, mostly negative sort of attitudes towards the term. Well, we also found some new patterns that emerged from our data, which previous literature did not talk about. So first one is moderate version of tiger parenting. So some parents are tiger parents, but they are actually willing to negotiate with their children. It also relates to the age of the children. For example, in parents who have primary school children tend to be tiger parents, but once children grow up and they are teenagers, so both tiger parents sort of abandon this style of parenting because they move to more negotiation and different relationship with their children. We also found interesting a pattern of degree of tigerness. So parents would say, see, I'm not tiger enough, or depends on how tiger one is. So there is a degree of tigerness. So it's not yes or no, but degree of tigerness. We found that tiger parenting is a mindset. That's one of our arguments. It's a belief shared among parents of different social classes. It's a belief in success stories or meritocracy, or we can say linear transition from good education to good life opportunities. So we found that those tiger parents in our sample believed in this kind of linear transition. Good education leads to good life. So sort of a meritocratic understanding of education and life. To elaborate a little bit about tiger parenting as a belief, so what they believe, we found that they believe in power of effort. So we named it as an input-output model of education. It's a model where tiger parent controls their children's education process by investing in input. This input can be academic tutoring, extracurricular activities, with the hope that output can be closer to the wish, to the goal. Although controlling the process does not guarantee the final result, but it assures that tiger parents' input will have positive impacts on the output, so which is children's chances of being successful in education. One of the questions we asked was whether tiger parenting is Asian or global phenomenon, because literature talks about it mostly as Asian phenomenon. So parents from various ethnic backgrounds offered different ideas. Some said this is the Chinese way of parenting. Some said it is predominantly Asian. So, for example, Koreans, Japanese, Indians, Taiwanese, Singaporeans, and other Asians are more likely to be tiger parents. And some actually said that it is, so these parents who offered perspective that this is Chinese or predominantly Asian, they had more culturalist explanations of tiger parenting. However, some parents said that it's actually global. It used to be Asian, but it's no longer Asian phenomenon. So some said that it is common in big cities with high population density, where high competition for getting into universities and elite schools. And some mentioned London as one of the places where tiger parenting happens because of the competition and intense competition to get best schools. So interestingly, one parent said that Asian children are raising the bar and they influencing non-Chinese parents outside Asia. And then non-Chinese parents also becoming tigers as a result of their influence, according to one of the parents. So this slide actually summarizes spending of parents from different social classes on private tutoring and extracurricular activities. So as you see, working class parents spend less, lower mid class spends a bit more, middle class more, and upper mid class a bit more. So, and just looking at this slide, you may think, yeah, that's true that middle class parents and upper middle class parents, they it's them who exercise tiger parenting. However, we found that tiger parenting is a cross-class approach. It's not only strategy of middle-class parents, but it is also strategy of working-class parents. Because when we talk to them, working-class parents would say it is expensive to send kids to these tutoring classes, to send kids to these extracurricular classes. If I had money, I would send. So which means that it is basically um, they don't have enough funding. If they had, they would send, which means that they buy this mindset, right? That the parenting style is the same. It's just the resources, which is different across social class spectrum. So we looked at class-based analysis. We conducted class-based analysis of parental practices, and we found that there are differences in terms of spending on academic tutoring versus extracurricular activities. So most lower mid-class and working class parents saw the strong need to invest in academic tutoring. Once you go up in the social class ladder, like upper class parents, they were mostly they were trying to invest in both academic tutoring and non-academic tutoring, like extracurricular activities, music, sports. So they were looking at a more all-rounded way rather than in academic terms only. So one possible explanation for this could be that upper middle class and middle class parents typically in Hong Kong send their kids to international schools. So, and international schools actually already take care of these responsibilities. So overall, we argue that it is an imbalance in resources, financial resources, that creates illusion that tiger parenting is practiced only mostly by middle class parents. But our data showed that parents, at least in our sample in Hong Kong, both lower and upper social class strata use tiger parenting strategies for various other reasons, which cannot be solely reduced to social class. So what are other factors that we found, so except social class and culture? So parents considered Hong Kong's competitive education system as major cause for tiger parenting. So there are some school-related factors. In some schools, teachers encourage tiger parenting. So there is a chain of pressure. So I think this is a nice quote which summarizes this mindset. The parent said, I think it's because of the schools. Schools put pressure on teacher, who in turn put pressure on parents, and finally parents put pressure on students. So it's a chain of pressure. Some schools in Hong Kong have high admission standards. Competitive school admissions requirements call for more academic tutoring. So parents are pushed to do this. There is also strong peer pressure among parents, and because of social media and other factors, so which cultivates this fear of falling behind, right? And there is also difference between international schools and local schools. While local parents are competing for places in local elite schools, expat families are competing among themselves for placements in top international schools and also elite universities abroad. Changing times, some parents thought that parents of this generation are more tiger parents, while in their generation, it was more rare practice. Now we have more first competition in education, jobs, and social lives, which require parents to exercise these tiger parenting qualities. We found that some tiger parents replicate their own parents, so they were raised by the tiger parents and they became tiger parents. Or we also found evidence when parents raised by tiger parents decided just to go on the opposite path. And some parents perceived tiger parenting as sort of insurance against uncertainties and risks in life. So it's sort of an insurance for some parents. Well, in this project, we collected evidence stating that some parents who had once considered themselves tiger parents eventually changed their approach. So we argued that tiger parenting is not static, so it's dynamic. There were tiger parents before, and they decided not to be anymore. As I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons is the age of students. Once children grow up, parents become less tiger. And these changing dynamics are related to some lived experiences of parents. For example, global experiences of living, working, raising children abroad have contributed to Asian parents not be tigers anymore. Other factors contributing to the change of minds are related to parent-child relationship and, as I said, age of children. These are the factors that have been understudied in literature. And you see some of the quotes or from parents stating how they changed their minds. They were tigers and they decided not to be tigers anymore. Okay, let me draw some conclusions from the data we have. So in this paper, we tried to move away from cultural essentialism, right? And we hope that our study presents more nuanced understanding of private tutoring, the concept beyond cultural essentialism, and this East versus West binaries. Cultural essentialism is simplistic and can lead to stereotyping. We found that tiger parenting is cross-cultural practice, and it's not exclusively Chinese or Asian practice, but it is becoming more global. We also found that tiger parenting is cross-class, not only cross-culture, but it's cross-class, meaning that parents from diverse backgrounds, they are engaged in tiger parenting, right? So multiple interviews with low-income parents, they proved that they had very positive views regarding tiger parenting. And then finally, it's a financial capital that contributes to parents' mindset. The data from interviews offered support to the notion that such parenting style is a function of economic capital, because engaging in tiger parenting actually requires family wealth, family resources. And this creates this illusion that it's only middle-class parents that are engaged in tiger parenting. Such parenting practices are actually increasingly necessitated by competitive education system, and it's becoming globalized across social class. So parental active investment in educational activities or intensive parenting, tiger parenting, has been part of ongoing debates in Asia and outside Asia. For example, Ho, in context of Australia, has been talking about neoliberal endorsement of competition in Australian schools. Others were talking about parenting as no longer locally constructed but globally constructed. Others talking about impact of social media on parents. And for example, in context of US, Reddy is talking about children as projects. Again, in Australia, parents as portfolio managers, and responsibilization of parenting also in the UK, which is quite relevant to Hong Kong as well. So there are different factors contributing. Well, and that's a final slide. We suggest that scholars of comparative and international education should consider multiplicity of factors leading to tiger parenting. So we argue that neither social class nor culture alone can explain its complexity, and we argue that cultural or ethnocentric approach obscures the importance of crucial factors leading to tiger parenting. And we offer that tiger parenting must be theorized as a product of a broader social and educational context. We need to look at different aspects, the role of school admissions, teacher-led factors, examination, parental aspirations, expectations, and fears, and also generational influences. So these are not necessarily cultural differences, but they reflect more complex factors which are often overlooked. So I'd like to acknowledge my co-authors and also research team members, and I'd like to mention also funding for this project, which came from Hong Kong Research Grants Council. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer